right, let's bring on Bob Holt. It happened again, guys. I met our friend from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette at the grocery store again. Happened just a few days ago. So I guess Bob, grocery stores nowadays are like our community centers. So I guess you and I just sort of it's like we would meet in front of the racquetball courts at the old JCC. So good to have you on today. That was a tough game last night, wasn't it? That was a really tough one to watch. I know a lot of fans probably turned it off once they got into the second half, but you had to watch it from tip-off to buzzer. So what'd you think watching that last night? Was it all effort? Were there other things that you thought factored in?
Well, I think number one, LSU's really, really good. They're very talented. I agree there. Eric said Monday, I guess we talked to him, that LSU might be the most talented team in the league, and they're really good. They've got a great freshman, Cam Thomas. They've got some really good players who came back, like Days and Watford and Smart. It looks at the NBA draft, decided to come back. LSU had played well, even with Thomas getting hurt. The previous game, they won on the road at Ole Miss by 14. With Thomas, who SC's leading scorer, didn't score in that game. So, I think LSU was favored. I expected them to win, honestly, but I certainly did not expect Arkansas to be trailing by 31 in the first half. So I think it was a combination of, LSU's talented. They played a really good game. They jumped on Arkansas, and Arkansas didn't. It's the classic, get punched in the mouth, and you don't respond. It wasn't Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face or whatever, and Arkansas got punched in the face and didn't react very well. Now I'll give them some credit for, turning a 31-point deficit into they got within 13, but LSU had total control of that game after about the first 5 minutes, and I just think it was LSU playing really bad or playing really well, Arkansas playing really bad, and I don't think the effort was there for Arkansas. Eric Musselman said as much. He said it was the second game he could remember where the effort just wasn't there, and the other one was when he was at Nevada and had a top 10 team, and they went to New Mexico and got drilled like 85-58. This was in 2019, a Mountain West game. They were ranked 6th or 7th and were 14-0. So maybe that team was a little overconfident. Maybe Arkansas was feeling a little too good about itself after beating Georgia by 30 points. But that was just a really good game for LSU and a really bad game for Arkansas in a lot of ways.
And Muss didn't seem interested at all in talking about any good points that he might have seen in that second half, because he said, when you're getting your socks knocked off at halftime, he expects you to come out and play with more effort in the second half. And I guess what's most concerning for me, Bob, and I think for Muss too, it just is head scratching when you see the two league wins, great performances on the road at Auburn, at home against Georgia, and Muss has been so, public about how good the team has played and fired up on the post-game Zoom and everything. And those games have been followed by complete and utter eggs against Missouri and against LSU. And you can give plenty of credit to the opponents, and they deserve that. But against Missouri, I don't know how you miss all those open layups and open shots. And against LSU, I don't know how you go on the road to Baton Rouge and not play with better effort and work to get open shots. They just played right into the hands of what LSU, I think, defensively wanted them to do.
Yeah, LSU played some zone trapping, I guess some 2-2-1 and 1-3-1, dropping back in, and Arkansas got a little too happy or too satisfied with taking jumpers, taking 3-pointers. And they started having some success when they took the ball to the basket hard. Note did that. So Silva can do that. Moses can do that. They've got some other guys. But, LSU had a good game plan for him. Will Wade had said on Tuesday that they'd actually gone back and in the summer spent quite a bit of time studying Eric Musselman's Nevada teams, because they felt like, Arkansas just got the better of them last year, even though they split the games. LSU held on and won a 2-point game in Baton Rouge, and then Arkansas beat them by 9 in Fayetteville, and it was a pretty lopsided game. It wasn't like it was lopsided last night, but so they LSU put a lot into this game, getting ready for it. And I'm not saying Arkansas didn't, because I know Eric Musselman and his staff are pretty meticulous in their preparation and scouting, but clearly, and it's funny, if people didn't watch the first couple minutes, Arkansas jumped They got a couple stick-back baskets. Connor hit a three. You think, oh, maybe he's getting on track a little bit, and they're up 7-4. And then, if you'll, I don't know, right out to get a takeout and bring it back, they're down by 31. You're like, what? And so it just seemed like a snowball that started rolling downhill, and Arkansas couldn't stop it.
Bob Holt joining us here on Halftime. Bob, what do you think needs to happen to give the Razorbacks some confidence heading into this Alabama game and try to – I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to win this game because Alabama – if we think LSU's really good, Alabama's probably that much better in the SEC this season, probably one of the, if not the best team in the SEC between them and Tennessee. What needs to happen to get this team their confidence back and, I guess, in a sense, more of their swagger back that we saw during the non-conference portion of the season?
Yeah, and of course, Alabama's a little banged up, but it's been a really unpredictable year in the SEC. I think the road teams actually have a winning record, and we all know road games aren't what they were. You have the limited crowds, but still you'd think playing at home would be somewhat of an advantage. And, Alabama's already got two great wins at Kentucky and at Tennessee. They're a little banged up, though, so we'll see how that plays into it. Yeah, I think Arkansas just got to get back in the gym and work hard. You got to get some more consistency, from the team and from the players. You look at Vance Jackson, and he'd had two really good games, scored 14 and 15, and last night he's 1 for 8. 0 for 4 on threes. He's been a really good three-point shooter, and he missed a couple pretty open looks. And Devontae Davis had played 20 points, 7 boards, 6 assists against Georgia. I think his numbers were in the last night. He goes 1 for 11. And so, Eric talked about some guys maybe trying to do, I'm paraphrasing here, maybe trying to do things, that they're cut out to do. I think, Devo, they look for him from defense first. And he hit 9 of 14 shots against Georgia, which is great. But Eric said, they didn't call any plays for him. So going 1 for 11, maybe a freshman, they're not looking for him to take that many shots normally. So, then some of these, I thought Georgia was a bad matchup for Vanna. They won big, but those the forwards for Georgia were a little too quick for him. Same deal with LSU. Connor's 7'3", but he's a finesse guy. He's a perimeter guy. And I think they're, not to make excuses for him, but I think they're really missing Justin Smith right now, because I'm not saying they would have beaten LSU with Justin Smith, but he's the kind of guy that could have gone in there and been in physical inside, I think, with Watford and Days. I think Arkansas missed that. So, but, yeah, they just got to go back to the drawing board, and they got to, figure it out pretty quick here.
Want to step away from the Razorbacks just for a second, get your thoughts on Urban Meyer. I think we're anticipating the news of him heading to the Jacksonville Jaguars here, possibly before the end of the day or here in the next day or two. Bob, what do you think? How do you think Urban Meyer will translate into the NFL, whether it is with the Jaguars or wherever he goes? How do you think Urban Meyer will translate as an NFL coach?
I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, he's been at Florida and Ohio State, and those are almost like two NFL programs, I think, with the talent level and just the emphasis on winning. He keeps stepping down for health reasons. I'm not sure going to Jacksonville coaching NFL is going to be real stress-free. So, Jacksonville obviously has not done well. This is kind of an out-of-the-box hire, but, he does have some ties with Florida, so maybe he can, Jacksonville's close to Gainesville. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to sell tickets, but maybe that can create a little bit of a buzz there down in Florida. But I think it's weird that a guy, like say, twice steps away from great jobs, Florida and Ohio State, for health reasons, and then it's like, okay, well, is coaching the NFL going to be like a day at the beach? So I'm curious to see how he does. He's obviously had a ton of success in college, but we've seen a lot of successful college coaches not do well at the NFL level. There's been some who did, but it's an interesting hire. If you're Jacksonville, maybe you just don't want to hire another up and coming coordinator or recycle NFL coach. You want to give Urban Meyer a shot. So it's interesting hire for sure. I don't know if it'll work out, but it should be. You'll grab some headlines down there in Florida.
Guess he didn't enjoy the studio job as much as we all thought he did. He was good at that. I thought he was pretty good on that on the Fox Big Noon kickoff. But I guess he didn't want to be the next Lee Corso or so. And here's the other thing too. I mean, I think when you've won 2 national championships and you seem to be as competitive as he is, it's like health reasons be damned. But I would never imagine somebody that's had those sort of health problems would think that being an NFL head coach, it means that those problems might not flare up again. I mean, the pressure you feel from up on high there is just as much pressure as you'll feel from boosters at Florida or media from Ohio State or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different. I mean, you don't have to recruit in the NFL like you do in college, but you feel like Ohio State and Florida. I think that's something Nick Saban found out is that, and he, he's a great coach, obviously in college, and he might have won at Miami. Certainly, if they could have signed Drew Brees, if the doctors hadn't advised against signing Drew Brees, maybe he would have won a Super Bowl at Miami with the Dolphins. But when you're at Ohio State and Florida and places like that, you're obviously going to be able to recruit at a high level. In the NFL, it's about the draft and free agency. I mean, you see some lopsided scores in the NFL every once in a while, but pretty much it's going to be a tight game. It's like playing 16 SEC games or 16 Big Ten games or whatever, if you want to kind of equate it to college. I mean, there aren't any guarantee games in the NFL. And so, just from a game standpoint, I think there's probably more pressure than in college because there are no gimmies in the NFL. There might be a team you beat up on because maybe they're in have some injuries or whatnot, or just have a lousy day. But I think it's much harder to win in the NFL than it is at a top college program.
Scott, before we let you go, Bob, just a thought on Arkansas, Alabama for Saturday. I know Jones and another one of the starting forwards, I forgot his name for Alabama, could be out. And Jones, I think he's expected to miss Saturday. But it's a high-powered Alabama team, and I thought going into yesterday that LSU is incredibly dangerous with or without Cam Thomas. So what about Alabama? Are they just as dangerous without Herbert Jones?
Well, I mean, obviously they're going to miss him, and I think the other guy you're thinking about, I think he hurt his knee or ankle or something. Like Jones hurt his finger. So, I mean, the thing is, Alabama lost those guys, and they beat Kentucky by 20 on the road. So
right.
Alabama got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. But as I said, this has just been a really weird year. In the SEC, you look at Tennessee, they go to Missouri, who's been really hot, and they beat them 20 points, really beat them down. And then Missouri comes into Arkansas, and you think, well, Arkansas's got a good shot to win this game. And then, Missouri really takes it to Arkansas, wins, and Tennessee goes home and loses to Alabama. And so, there have been, and those are just a couple of games that are kind of head-scratchers to me anyway. And so it's really hard to predict games right now, but certainly I think Alabama would be favored at home. They haven't lost, an SEC game all year, but I wouldn't say, oh, yeah, Arkansas stunk it up at LSU and Alabama won big at Kentucky. So that means, Alabama's going to beat Arkansas because, Georgia led at LSU by 10, I think with 9 minutes left a week ago, and then lost in overtime. But they gave LSU all they wanted, more. Lost by 2 in overtime, and then Georgia comes here, and maybe they were worn out by LSU, but Arkansas pulls away in the second half and beats them by 30. Basically does to them in the second half what LSU did to Arkansas in the first half last night. So it just goes to show you, the old adage, you can't really compare scores. But, this has just been a very unpredictable season, so I'd hate to be putting money on what's going to happen. But I certainly think Arkansas is capable of winning that game, but you have to favor Alabama on paper.
All right, so then I'll end this with a prediction that you and I will meet at the grocery store again sometime in the evening Tuesday. I'll be there. We'll see if you will. Bob, thanks for joining us, as always. Appreciate you.
Okay, I only go there like about once a week or once every 10 days, so it's ironic we've run into each other twice.
I know, that's right. We apparently have synced our shopping schedules, which is crazy to think about sometimes. Hey, if you have sleep apnea,